All right, so I did a thing.
Can't stop, won't stop. I can't stop, won't stop.
About a year ago, I switched to the EOS RP, and I wanted to start to make a gradual move to mirrorless. And so I promised myself that I would use the adapter that I would keep with those EF lenses, and that I would just sort of like borrow and test the other ones. And over the course of a few years, I would comfortably get into the R system with the beautiful glass. And
Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop.
couple of beers late at night, the wife's asleep, and all that goes out the window the first time you see one of these on sale. Now, I am going to talk about my first impressions of the RF 70-200 2.8. Now, there are a couple of things I want to tell you before we get started. Don't forget I have a podcast. It comes out every week. It's called Photobomb. I co-host it with my good friend Booray Perry. And I will put a link to that and his YouTube channel in the description of this video. So go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, do all that jazz, and make sure that you get these videos coming out, because after I've used this thing a little bit more, I'm going to do a full review and even compare it to the EF versions and ask the very important question: is it worth the upgrade? Do you really need to do it? So what I typically do with a piece of gear is I'm going to tell you sort of the things I like about it, the things that concern me, and then kind of who I think it's for, which is my custom. So starting out, the things that I like about this lens. It is smaller, or at least it appears smaller. Really, if you put the lens hood on and sort of extend the lipsticky sort of function that you got going on here, it's pretty much exactly the same length as the EF version. Now, I have the EF version 2, not the version 3. I've been holding on to that thing for a while. I've had it for probably almost a decade, and maybe it was time to upgrade. But either way, it's roughly the same. Effectively, with the R5, which is my main camera, I'm recording on it right now, and the 70-200, the weight and the actual effective size of it while shooting is essentially the same, or at least so much that you don't notice. But when you're packing this up into your bag, it does get a lot more compact, which is really, really cool. Another thing I really like about it so far is the tripod collar. I am a dedicated tripod shooter, and there are friends I have that make fun of me for this, but I will die before I will give my tripod up. But the action on this is quite a lot smoother. It's a lot less rickety. It doesn't feel like it's gonna come off. It's really, really a substantial improvement over the previous version. I also want to note that you get the control ring with these RF lenses that you don't have on the EF, and you can program it to all kinds of stuff. But for a lot of people that I've spoken to, it's a big enough, weird enough change where we haven't really taken advantage of it. But you can also program it so that it will only activate when you depress the shutter, which is pretty cool. So you can do almost anything with it. I just haven't utilized it yet, but I'm sure that that function will come in handy for a lot of shooters. Probably the main thing I love about this lens is I've had the chance to shoot with it a couple of times in the studio. At the time of recording this, we've just really shut down for the holidays. We've got a couple of weeks where I don't have any shoots scheduled. So I'm not getting to put this to task like I normally would with a new lens when I get it, but I have had the opportunity to use this in a couple of shoots. And I can tell you by showing you some of the images that it is sharper than, or at least as sharp as any prime lens I've ever used, and it's sharper than any zoom I've ever used in the Canon system. Normally when I'm doing a headshot session, I stick around f4 to f5.6. I kind of stay away from 2.8 because, not because it can't focus at f2.8, but because the focus isn't as reliable. It doesn't hit every time. Even with the stellar autofocus that tracks the eye that Canon has now, I would probably get about a 70% to 60% ratio of images that were just dead sharp in both eyes, and I am crazy about sharpness. The last session I did with this thing, the ratio of sharp images, like tack sharp in both eyes, shooting at f2.8 rather than f4 f5.6, was about 95%, which is a game changer for me. I photograph a lot of actors and entertainers, and I do mostly headshots in my studio, and people in the entertainment industry, they need a lot of proofs to choose from. And so I don't have to worry about leaning in, blowing up an image and seeing that it's soft and then not wanting to show it to the client, because pretty much every image you look at is dead sharp in both eyes, and that's a huge, huge improvement so far. Now I want to talk about a couple of the things that concern me with this lens. First and foremost, the lipstick factor doesn't bother me as much because really the other lens was just kind of doing it just inside a casing. But it's the casing that makes the difference for weather sealing. I live and work in the South. In Florida, it rains every day like it's the end of the world for about 7 months out of the year. So with particles, sand from the beach, moisture in the air, all kinds of things concern me about getting inside here and mucking it up. And so, you know, we haven't really had a fair chance to assess the lens under these circumstances because most of the time anybody would have had this lens, we've been in a global pandemic and events have pretty much been canceled. So I don't think we've had a fair sort of sampling of people out there using this lens and seeing what happens. So I will report back after another few months when I do a full review of this lens. But you know, so far so good, and I'm mostly in the studio right now. Just want you to know I'm keeping an eye on it. Now the other thing, and this may seem, I don't know, it may seem nitpicky. I don't care, it's my video, you don't have to watch. Is the heel cap is now different. And just like the body caps on the R series cameras and the heel caps on all the RF lenses, it goes on differently. I have been putting these on and off for 15 years every single day, and I could do this with my eyes closed in the dark. But with these, they changed something that it's not, got it, okay. So it's not as intuitive. Again, it might be one of those muscle memory things to get used to, but if it's something that you have to visually line up to put it on, which kind of bums me out with that little bit right there, I don't want to have to be at a corporate event in the dark trying to figure out how to put this lens cap on, and you can feel the little raised bump on the back and kind of line it up, but it's not as easy to get this on, and I think it's such a weird change to have made to the camera. And you may think that's such a small thing, but when you're talking about protecting this very expensive high-tech piece of equipment, getting the lens caps on properly is kind of a big deal. Now I want to finish up by telling you who I think this lens is for. Anyone who relied on the 70-200 EF version who is moving into the mirrorless space. As of right now, I could do all of my work with my old lens without a problem. This just makes a couple of things a little easier. Since I live on that tripod collar, the smooth action of this thing is going to make my life a lot easier. Not to mention the sharpness, the hit rate of sharp images is going to make a big difference for me. How often does it happen to you where a client picks an image and then you go back to edit and blow it up and realize it's soft, and then you got to run it through another software or whatever you got to do to get that sharpness there? This is going to be a big deal. I think it's going to be an even bigger deal paired with the incredible eye autofocus and tracking that's in the new R series cameras. For event and wedding shooters, I think that the images from the back of the church where it's going to focus on the eye and it's going to be tack sharp, and the image stabilization, which I haven't even talked about, which is 2 to 3 stops better than even the version 3. You know, this camera is going to be a must-have before too long. The only thing I can recommend is if you're not ready to pull the trigger and buy one, don't use one until you're ready to buy it, because once you use it, you're not going to want to go back to your other lens. As far as studio photographers, I think if the hit rate isn't quite as important, if you work a little slower, you can probably make that EF last you just a bit longer before you move over. But there's nobody who's shooting weddings and events who's not going to want to be using this lens before too long. Okay, that's all I got for you. I can definitely recommend that you keep an eye on refurbished versions of this lens, because so far with the full warranty, it just functions perfectly. I didn't get a box, but I don't really care about the box. What I care about is this. So thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and check out the Photobomb podcast. I appreciate you giving me your time to listen to me rant about this beautiful little piece of glass, and there will be more coming from me on this lens, including a straight up comparison and a full assessment of whether or not it's worth the switch.